Welcome to From the Game to Grace, the podcast where real life begins after the final whistle. Hosted by Jarius and Candace Hayes, a former pro athlete and his powerhouse wife. This show dives deep into what happens when the spotlight fades, the crowd goes silent, and the real work begins. It's not just about football, it's about faith, identity, marriage, mental health, family, and learning how to grow through what you go through. From championship dreams to personal heartbreak, Jarius and Candace don't just talk about it, they've lived it. So if you're navigating a new season, wrestling with purpose, or just trying to hold it all together, you're in the right place. Let's get real. Let's heal.
Welcome back from the Game to Grace. I am your co-host, Candace Hayes.
And I'm Jarius Hayes.
And we like to thank you all for joining us today. So this episode is talking about how we can sometimes be helicopter parents to our kids and how to kind of prevent that. Also, how to not have it to make a disconnection in your marriage is concerned when you have those disagreements with, you know, um, what the kid needs to do and what parent is right, what parent is wrong. So just with those different preventable actions that we want to talk about, and always this our whole objective to this to our podcast is we are going through this different transitions of marriage, parenting, could be financial health issues or whatever, but these are just the experiences that we have gone through with our 30 years of marriage, from all of that, career changes, all of that. So we just kind of want to make sure that guys know where we're coming from, and we're coming from a place of um, authenticity, and also we are making it so relatable, to those that are married, that have children, or don't have children yet, and maybe want to learn from those that's been through the transition already. So we'll just kind of go ahead and start, and we'll kind of walk you through on some of the things that we'll be talking about today. And today is the questions are you protecting your child from the struggle because you don't want to see them hurt, or watching them make you feel uncomfortable about different situations that your children might be in. Number two, is your help actually robbing them of the resilience and the real world skills that they really need, like showing up, being responsible, respecting authority, and making their own decisions, and not making them not us making the decisions for them. And that does help in the long run, because when they get out there in the real world, they need to know how to work under pressure, how to, make their own decisions, all of that. And then also how disagreements and about parenting create disconnection in your marriage when you need each other the most. So we'll just kind of start out with um, how parenting becomes how we can handicap our kids, if the core of the issue is it like a fear that you have as a parent, maybe some type of trauma maybe that you've been through, and you don't want to see your kid go through that, or maybe you came up in a struggle and you don't want your kid to struggle. Just it's just so many dynamics of all of those different things. And we get it. We get it. We've been on the other side where we've had so many different circumstances to deal with our kids. Now our kids are 35, 33, and 29, so we have a lot of experience in it, with us being 30 years of marriage. So um and Jerry, if you want to kind of start us off with um how how a helicopter parent can be not helpful to the child or even for the parent.
Right, right. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a perfect child.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as a perfect parent.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so, from a parent perspective, you don't want to ride your child so much that
Mm-hmm.
they disregard any advice, any instruction, but you don't want to hold their hand too much to where they become a handicap. They don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to do anything for themselves. And even when they become as an adult, they're not responsible because they've pretty much been parents been holding their hand for so long that
Mm-hmm.
they don't even know how to think on their own.
Yeah.
So and you want to always be fair, be there for your kids. I say just enough to where even if they miss it, they know you there to support them.
Right. Yeah.
You're not going to be able to live their life for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could be as a parent some trauma that you may have went through, or you underachieve, or you didn't become as great as you thought you would, or you don't have as much as you wish you had, and so now you try to live through your child by being overbearing and being that parent that I got to be with you every step of the way and not allow you to think, not allow you to uh, be able to see from your own perspective on some things. And so, and a lot of times, and when kids end up to a point where even when they get teenagers, even get young adults, and they find themselves not being able to survive on their own 2 feet, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And as a parent, you look back and you say, "Man, what did I do wrong?" And in a lot of cases, it won't be hard to tell what you did wrong.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because as much as you love your child, as much as you love your child, you're not going to be able to protect them from every hurt, from every setback, from every disappointment, from every failure. You're not going to be able to protect them from that, but you can be there to support them and help them through.
Mm-hmm.
I said that again. You're not going to be able to protect your kid from every failure, from every disappointment, from every heartache, uh, whatever thing they may go through in life. You're not going to be able to protect them from everything that they go through that may be negative.
Yeah.
But you can be there for support and encouragement and be there to strengthen them, not try to do everything for them,
Yeah.
but to guide them and help them through and then allow them to navigate it with their own strength. That's why it's important to teach your child how to pray, teach your child how to stand on the word of God. That's why it's important that your child and parent child should have great communication to where it should never be a point to where the child is afraid to come to a parent for anything.
That's right.
And uh, a lot of that depends on how do you act when your kids bring something to you that they may have did. How do you react? Because how you react could determine in the future whether they come back to you again.
Yeah.
Because if you just blow up
Mm-hmm.
and you just start condemning them and judging them and cussing them out and calling them everything and just going crazy, they probably ain't gonna bring
Nothing to you.
nothing back to you.
Yeah. They'll go
because
somewhere else.
cause no kid, they already kind of shame
Mm-hmm.
if they did something that they know they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And for you to just beat them up even more, we may call that
Tough love.
tough love,
Yeah.
but it's a fine line.
Yeah. It sure is.
Tough love and it's a fine line between condemning and showing tough love. And some parents can't tell the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And you wind up, instead of cause your kid to draw closer to you, they pull farther apart. So that's my take on it, you know what I'm saying? So it just, and it could be, it's, as a parent, it can be tough because I truly believe, and this is how I think, I want my kids to be better than me.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
I don't want to push them. Also, I don't want to hold their hand to the point to where, you know what I'm saying, to prevent them from making a mistake or prevent them from experience a setback, because that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to learn how to overcome those things. Just like I had to learn to overcome those things. They're gonna have to learn how to overcome those things without anybody there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just them and God.
Yeah. Because if not, they're gonna be out here just
Right.
clueless. You know. Then we were talking to a business owner and says like, how's the business going? He said, well, the thing is just hiring these, these new age kids. He was like they show up late. Most of them are not responsible. They don't kind of know how to make good decisions, and it's just, he says, it's just not like how it used to be when we were growing up.
And let me say something on that.
Yeah.
And people talk about like I have a sports background. Like coming up as a kid, for most of my life, I would play football. Then when that season was over, it was basketball. When that season was over, it was baseball. And now, if you showed up late to practice, you was gonna have to run.
Yeah.
If you smart enough to the coach, you either got kicked off the team or you're gonna be disciplined in some way.
Yeah.
And sports was that discipline that I got outside the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your parents, they looked after you, but when you got that sports field, your coaches was like your parents.
Yeah.
On the field. And on the team. And if you were late, they ain't want to hear nothing. Well, my parents didn't bring me, and they feel like it was your responsibility to tell your parent what time you need to be at practice. And if you can't get your parents to get you here on time to be on practice, you need to call and let me know. You need to be responsible. Okay, if my parent can't take me, okay, we need to get in contact with the coach and let him know I need to ride to practice. That was our responsibility, whether we was 8 or 13.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and sports taught me so much to where that even when I got to the NFL, if you were late to a meeting, you had to pay.
Yeah, you're getting fined. Yeah. Yeah.
Out your pocket.
Yeah.
Now in college, this was before NIL. If you were late for a meeting, they were gonna run you till you couldn't run no more.
Yeah.
If you were late or you showed up late or you missed a meeting, I bet you won't miss another meeting.
You won't either.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so sports taught me so much about accountability that when my sports career was over, I was just able to carry it open. Now that I work a job, I'm always there early. Because in my mind, I want to already be there and not have to get there and rush.
Yeah, yeah.
That's always that from as a little kid playing sport. That's always been my mindset. That 8, 9, 10 years old, I wanted to get to practice early and not just get there in the last minute and be stressed.
Right. Yeah, because it does it takes that anxiety up. It does. Yeah.
I wanted to already be there. If I had practice at 4. let's leave at 3:30, even though it don't take us but 10 minutes to get to practice.
Yeah.
Let's leave at 3:30 so I can get there and be cool.
And be ready. Yeah.
As a little kid, that's how I thought.
Yeah, that preparation, it does matter. It does matter.
And so, sports taught me a lot from a perspective of accountability to where, the coach didn't care how old you were. He expected you to be responsible enough to get there on time and do what you're asked to do. From 8, 9, 10 years old, all the way up to the NFL.
And it was really, now that you kind of look back, it was really, teaching you the basic responsibilities of getting there, doing what you need to do. And that's, that was just for sports, because it's other things, too, that, people had that maybe didn't play sports.
Didn't play sports.
So, it was just those basic responsibilities that now I think sometimes, I don't know if it's because of, social media. We saw a couple yesterday, and that we were just talking about, back when we were growing up, we didn't have social media, so we were creatives. We created stuff to do, and so now, we were talking to somebody else, and she was like, sometimes the kids are kind of socially awkward, because they're in the techie. It's like the techie generation now, and you see more of them.
Everybody got their head down.
Everybody got their heads down instead of like talking, like communicating. So it's, we're in a different, era now. So, and that could be, some of the, some of the issues, now, with what's going on, with, hiring, young people now, in the generation now that's coming up. But we did want to kind of go further with this and kind of talk about, our experiences, with our kids, and we just feel like this is the best thing. This is the best way to kind of explain it to you, in relatable terms, where we're using our own experiences as parents and what we did, and we felt like, that was the best thing to do so they could learn from each situation that they went through. So, and then here's the thing: sometimes just kind of reflect on like a disagreement, that maybe you and your spouse had regarding, one of your kids, and then ask yourself, is it something that you are afraid of at the moment? About your kid, or is it about you? Is it maybe about a failure, you know, that you had, and you don't want to see your kid, go through that? And then, what are you trying to protect? Are you trying to protect them? Are you trying to protect yourself? And then just the tactics of the fear and, and all that. So, we'll just go ahead and go into our, our stories, what we had, and let you, we'll take you through the transition of, of our daughter, and, what we discovered, how we helped them kind of navigate through those challenges. So for, this is a story about our daughter. So she, it was, the night before her wedding. They had a wedding dinner it was at the river bottom, or it was something called river bottom, river top, or something like that. But it was a place where you could kind of, I guess, look over the river, or the Tennessee River, or something like that. And, as she was going up, she was walking, and she had lost some weight. Of course, when you're trying to make sure you want the weight, want the, all of the things.
Right.
But, as she was going up, she was holding onto the rail, and, her ring had came off and dropped down into the river. And, so she was, our son had called, Kendall had called, and he was like, "Hey, Mom, Desiree just dropped her ring in the river." I was like, "What?" He was like, and she's like, crying, and, I was like, "Oh, okay." So it kind of prepared us, when she came back, so we could, already kind of be prepared on, like, how to keep her calm, and how to speak life, how to speak hope, how to speak wisdom in the situation. And so we were getting ready, and before the night before, and um I just said a prayer. We said a prayer over her, and she started looking through the phone book. And I said, well, what do what do you feel like you're gonna do? Because her husband now, he had told her, he was like, it's okay. I got insurance on the ring. It's okay. We'll it's okay. I'm not mad. And but when the next day of your wedding, you want everything to be right. So she wanted her ring, and so she was looking through the phone book, or maybe not the phone, but maybe she was looking online or something like that. And she was looking up these scuba diving people that scuba dive.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I that didn't even register in my mind at the time. Like, look that up. But because we had prayed, we prayed for wisdom and revelation, and God gave her that. And so the next morning, we had her hairstylist to come, to the church, and which was Vise, and she was, getting her ready, getting her hair done, and all that. And so I kind of disappeared for a little while and went into the church and just kind of prayed, and then just reminded God of all His promises. And I said, God, blah 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 blah. And by the time I walked out the church back into the room where she was in, the scuba diving person came in. She was soaked, like her hair. I mean, and she was like, she rushed in and she says, I got it, I got it. And it was an hour before the wedding.
Mm.
It was an hour before the wedding. And Here's the thing about this. And Jared, you can kind of chime in too. As parents, we didn't we, we didn't panic. We didn't want to see her like in panic mode, like, oh, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
I didn't panic because I said, well, oh well.
Yeah, he always calm, but but why panic? And then and these are situations. Now she's married, and she's gonna be with her husband, and they're gonna be making their valid decisions on different things, buying a house, buying cars, just different things. And this is life. So we couldn't hold her hand in this situation. We had to pray, speak life, speak wisdom, and hope for the best, in that situation. And the best did come through. She did have victory in that situation. But these are just situations of real life things, that happen, and those just have to be one of those things, that happen. And she'll never forget that. She'll never forget that moment, that in like the 11th hour, within 1 hour, that scuba diving person came in and brought her that ring. So
And the key thing about that is, as parents, what no we can do.
it wasn't nothing we could do. Yeah, yeah,
And it's gonna be instances where with your kids, there'll be situations where there's nothing naturally you can do
right.
because
We wasn't about to go scuba diving.
and
Yeah,
all we could do was just trust God.
yeah,
And as a parent, that's how you got to be with your child every day.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you can't baby your child
Mm-hmm.
so much
Mm-hmm.
because there's always gonna be some instances where, as a parent, you're not gonna be able to do nothing to help.
Yeah.
But trust God with
But trust God.
and come in agreement
Yeah.
that things are gonna work out.
That work out.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you can do it on instances where you can't do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
as a parent, you're also a lot of times when you have the power to do something, don't always mean you're supposed to step in and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if your kid needs something and you got the financial means to get it, it doesn't necessarily mean you're supposed to always get it.
Yeah.
Because maybe they need to work and save and get it themselves, or maybe they don't need it, or maybe it's a want and not a need, and maybe it's just not important. But as a parent, we got to be careful that we don't just every time our kids say
they want something,
I need something, or I need this situation worked out, that we jump up
and get it
and do it. And it's like they serve the same God we serve.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And really, and then how is that helping them really in the long run?
Right.
In adult life, when they can't get things, just in an instant.
And I'm not saying in those things where, there's gonna be some things where as a parent, you gotta step in.
Right. Yeah.
And you gotta step in there, you gotta help, you gotta make things happen. But that's not all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That's not all the time. So you just gotta know when to jump in and when to jump out.
And then I was thinking about this while you were talking, and how sometimes like sports, sometimes we see it a lot in sports, how sometimes the parent didn't get to fulfill, their
Athletic.
dream or athletic, career in sports, and then they're trying to live through their kid, in the sport, and then sometimes the kid is only doing it to make the parent happy, and they don't even like the sport. Period.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
So just kind of be careful with that, because that's that kid, that kid could be in, make them be in a depressed state, and then
I've seen instances where if let's say the parent was the coach of the team.
Oh yeah, and they let the kid.
And let's say that the kid didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
Man,
that coach.
that kid is about to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and that's
and my thing is
pressure on a kid.
And my thing is this: you don't want to get to a point as a parent that you're always looking at your kids' performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we just have to step back, whether the kid played good
or not,
or didn't play good. Sometimes we just got to say, "I'm proud of it."
Right.
And don't talk about whether it was a game, whether it was a play they were in, whether it was a spelling bee or whatever it was. Maybe they didn't perform to the capability that they're capable of performing. And after it's over, a lot of times in those instances, you just need to say, "I'm proud of it."
Right.
You don't need to critique their performance
or anything.
You don't need to go back and watch the film.
Yeah, sit down, let's watch it together.
We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't need to do nothing. Sometimes when they may not perform up to par or up to their ability, those are the times where sometimes you might just need to say, "I'm proud of you," and just leave it alone.
And that'll take that kid so far with the confidence.
Yeah,
that,
it'll take so much.
My parent is proud of me, regardless if I messed up or didn't get to play.
Because like I said, the parent knows you're capable of doing better.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we can be overbearing and say, "Well, you should have did this. You know you're better than this, and you know you can do this, and you know, and you know, and you know." And sometimes we because you got to think, nobody feels worse than that kid that they didn't perform up to their capability.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't have to add to that. Sometimes you just have to say, "Okay, I'm proud of you. You tried hard." And sometimes you just gotta just scratch that performance and have your mindset, "Hey, let's just focus on the next opportunity."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just focus on the next opportunity.
Yeah.
because you're not going, whatever sports or whatever it is, you're not going to perform to your top level all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I wish you could, but
Yeah.
it just don't.
Some days you're gonna have good days. Some days you're gonna
just
have bad
some days
days.
you just don't have it.
Yeah.
You just don't have it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Then this is another thing. Another thing was um like pastors, and they want their kids to pastor, and sometimes those kids don't really want to be a pastor. They really don't want to. They really don't want to do that, and they could have some other type of talent that, I mean, because we are the church. The the building is just a building, but we are the church. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they have different, skills and abilities, but sometimes they want, the pastors want their kids to be, you know, a pastor.
right,
So,
and they may have kids that got their calling on their life,
yeah,
but uh, and then you may have kids that may not have that calling on
right,
their life.
right. And you're trying to kind of force it.
Kind of force,
Right,
yeah, right.
That's
right.
what I mean, force it.
And
Yeah,
and that can go that can fall in any arena.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
As a parent,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you're a parent and you're a teacher,
Mhm.
and you want your kids to teach.
Teacher.
They may not be their thing.
Teach.
Or you're an athlete, that may not be their thing.
Mhm.
And like you just said, a pastor, that may not be their calling.
Mhm.
And you can't
And these are just instances.
just instant.
Yeah.
And so you can't force, and I was never forced
Yeah.
to do anything.
Right.
And I'm really, really thankful for my parents, because
Mm-hmm.
they never pushed me, they never forced me to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, it was my decision to play sport
Mm-hmm.
or do whatever I, decided to do. They weren't gonna force me, they weren't gonna make me. All they did was supported me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it took so much pressure off of me as a kid to where, I ain't gotta worry about when I come home from the game that we're gonna talk about all the plays that I didn't make, or you know what I'm saying, the tackles that I missed, or I never had to worry about that, because as a kid you feel bad about it already.
Right. Yeah.
And my parents, they didn't jump on me if I had a bad game or nothing. It's just, things happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's try it again next time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, and as a kid growing up, that was very important,
Mm-hmm.
because they never pushed me into anything. So I'm thankful for that.
Oh yeah. And then let's go to the next story. So the next story is, and we're going with each kid that we have, like the different experiences that we experience. So the next one is our son, and he had an actual scholarship to HBCU school, and football scholarship. And a couple of days before, he came to us and he said, "Hey, I don't think I want to go to that school." And we were like, "Okay." And here's the thing: we could have said, you know,
You going?
"You going?
Yeah,
this free, and we ain't got to pay for it. You going?"
Yeah.
But we didn't. And that's the thing when we talked about earlier in the conversation. You want your kids to come talk to you. You want them to have that communication where, if it's especially something like that, and we were just like, "Okay, well, what you gonna do? What you want to do?" And he was like, "Well, can Dad talk to the coach, at UNA?" And Jeers did, and they gave him a scholarship there. So, but just making that whole 360 around, he still end up going to that HBCU school to finish up and graduate, with a degree. Right. So it was like kind of like full circle thing anyway.
And in neither instance did we make him do anything.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was we left the choice up to him.
Up to him. Yeah.
And like you said earlier, the first time when he got offered and he came and it was getting close to signing day, and he said he didn't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm not gonna make him
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
if he don't want to
If
go.
you don't want to go, yeah.
Because God has a way of
Mm-hmm.
working things out and getting you in His plan,
Yeah.
regardless of the decisions you make. A lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times as parents, we can get in the way of that.
Way. Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
is this what you want to do? I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
But like you said, it wound up where he wound up going back to that school
Mm-hmm.
and graduating
Mm-hmm.
and doing well for himself.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
But it was all on him. It
It was
wasn't
on
on
him.
us.
It was his decision because
His decision.
he was gonna have to study. He was gonna have to go
His
out there and
decision. And
play.
he put in the hard work.
Yeah.
He made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
We were just there to support him. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
all. And and that's life, and those are real life decisions.
Right.
And then under pressure like that, like a couple of days before, and then you say, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to go through it.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that happens. That happens. And then,
But like I said, it all worked out in the end. So
mm-hmm.
um, all worked out in the end.
Yeah, and it will. Yeah. And then, lastly, our youngest son, which he's 29, and at the age of 19, he had a mental health breakdown. He had a psychotic break, and this was probably one of the hardest decisions that we had to make. Of course, we were his full time caregivers for 7 years. But the hardest decision that we had to make after he had made a couple of several attempts to commit suicide, we had to make that decision. And it was hard for us because, you know, you as a parent, you feel like,
You could always fix things.
you can fix things.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought really that we could fix, fix it and help
Mm-hmm.
them. But at the end of the day, we um, we needed help.
Right.
We needed that help. We needed that. He needed that around the clock, that 24-hour professional care that
Couldn't provide.
we simply just couldn't provide it, and we had to come to terms with that. Like, okay, we just can't do it, and it took years for us to actually come to that conclusion.
Right.
That we just
Right.
we weren't um, built for that.
Right.
And 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 it was hard, that and that's hard. And then sometimes you do have to make those hard decisions with different circumstances like that, and that was really hard.
But like I said earlier, as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna be able to fix everything.
Right, we couldn't fix it.
You can't. You.
Yeah.
It's gonna be instances where you're not going to be able to fix that
Mm-hmm.
for your child,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to come to grips with that and get you some help.
Yeah.
And that's what we decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're glad we did. We're
Yeah.
glad we did. So
Yeah, right. He's
for his good
and our good.
and our good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just needless to say, these are just different situations that we went through, and we just gave you one scenario of each kid that we have.
And I truly believe every parent got also a list too.
Yeah, right.
We're just
yeah.
Sharing it with you guys
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, we feel what you feel.
Right. And you're not alone out
We've
there.
experienced what you've experienced.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but together we can
Mm-hmm.
strengthen each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's it.
And the thing is, and through all of this, we couldn't control those situations as parents, and that's what we're trying to kind of convey over.
Right.
We couldn't control those situations, and the outcomes, were all different. They were all different through each circumstance or each, example that we shared with you.
And but through every example, they all worked out.
They all worked
in
out
our favor.
In our favor, yeah, and for theirs too.
Theirs too.
Yeah, yeah. So, I we just want to, just kind of leave you with this. Just, make sure that that you have those values. Make sure that your kids can come to you and communicate with you, and you're not one of those parents that they're scared to come and talk to, because we've seen that happen where kids be scared to talk to their parents because their parents might just blow up, you know and then just having those values, and then just the grace factor, just allowing grace in these situations as well too, and and just learn not to be that helicopter parent or just rescuing them in every situation, and just start building, and it will teach them to build resilience and teach you as well as a parent. So that's all we have, and then we just say just allow grace for someone through this week, whatever you might be navigating this week. Just allow grace for you and your spouse, or you and your partner, especially if you have children. Allow that grace factor to be present in everything that you do.
Right.
So
That's it.
And that's it. And make sure that you subscribe to our channel, our different social media platforms that we have, and as well share this with someone you think that might need it. And that's all we have, and we're out of here. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to From the Game to Grace with Jarius and Candace Hayes. If today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or just made you feel a little less alone, do us a favor. Subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and leave a review to help more people find the show. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Just search at From the Game to Grace. That's From the Game, the number 2, Grace. Remember, no matter what you've lost or where you've been, grace is always the next play. We'll see you next time.